In this lesson, you will calculate the product of a sum and the product of a difference. Here's our first example of a special product. Find the quantity 3x plus 5 squared. Well, if we just write out what that means, that's 3x plus 5 times the quantity 3x plus 5. And then if we use FOIL, we're going to do the first 3x times 3x, which is 9x squared. Outer, 3x times 5 is 15x. Inner is another 15x. And then the last, 5 times 5 is 25. Now if we combine like terms, we put these together, you end up with 9x squared plus 30x plus 25. Now, do you notice anything about what we started with and what we ended up with? What you should notice is that this first term is this piece squared, and the last term is this piece squared, and the middle term is taking these two, multiplying them together, and then doubling them. In other words, the quantity a plus b squared is equal to a squared plus 2 times what a times b is, plus b squared. Let's go ahead and try this next example using what we just discovered. We want to take the first term and square it. So 8c squared is going to be 64 c squared, because 8 squared and c squared is 64 c squared. Now our middle term is going to be multiplying these two together and then doubling it. So 8 times 3 is 24. So this is 24 CD. And then we want to double it, so it's going to be 48 CD. And then our last term is going to be taking this one here and squaring that. 3D squared is 3D times 3D, or 9D squared. Now let's consider this next example. If we work this out the long way using FOIL, the quantity 2x minus 5y times 2x minus 5y. The only difference in this problem is we have subtraction instead of addition. So let's see what happens here. Using FOIL, first 2x times 2x is 4x squared. Now outer, 2x times a negative 5y is a negative 10xy. Inner, negative 5y times 2x is negative 10xy. And then negative 5y times negative 5y is positive 25y squared. Now when we simplify this by combining like terms, if I put these xy's together, I end up with 4x squared minus 20xy plus 25y squared. Do you notice anything about what we ended up with and what we started with? You should have noticed that we will once again square the first term, square the second one, and then this one in the middle, instead of being these two things multiplied together and doubled, it's going to end up being, instead of plus, it's going to be minus this time. It's called the square of a difference. So let's go ahead and try that on this one. I want to square the first one. I'm going to take a and square it. So 6p squared is 36p squared. Now we're going to multiply these two together. 6p times -1 is negative 6p, and then we double it, so it's going to be negative 12p. And then we're going to square the last one. -1 times -1 is positive 1. So 36p squared minus 12p plus 1. So when we had the square of a sum, it ended up being addition in both of these places. And when we had square of a difference, this one is subtraction and this one is addition. Now we're going to just kind of work in the reverse. We're going to take this trinomial and write it as the sum or difference that's squared. This one right here, since these are both plus, it's going to be the square of a sum. And basically what I want to do is take the square root of the first and last term. The square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 4 is 2. So I'm thinking it's going to be x squared, x plus 2 quantity squared. Now, you can always test it by going backwards. This would be x squared, and then multiply these together and double it. So 2x doubled is 4x, and then the last term squared is 4. Now for this one, since there's a subtraction sign here and adding here, I know this is going to be the square of a difference. And I'll take the square root of this, which is x, and the square root of this one, which is 6. And now if you wanted to try it out using the square of a difference, you would square this, x squared, then you would multiply these together, negative 6x, and then double it for negative 12x, and then you would square this. Negative 6 times negative 6 is positive 36.